Today on Sports Card Investor, lessons from the day trading world and how they can make you a better sports card investor. My name is Jeff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies, and at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode. I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful weekend out there, and I hope I can bring you some entertainment and some thought-provoking conversation, because that's what we are going to do today. We are going to talk about lessons from the world of day trading and things from day trading that you can apply over to sports card investing. It's going to be a great conversation. I also wanted to remind you that on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, is my next members-only live stream. And I'm excited about this one because I'm busting Bowman 2020. I got a jumbo hobby box with 3 autos in here. I'm going to be busting that open, giving all the cards away to my members. We're going to play some live trivia on the live stream. And so if you think you got some sports card trivia knowledge and you can bust into the live stream and get some questions right and win some sports cards, could be a lot of fun. Check out my membership program. If you sign up by Wednesday, you can be part of this fun. Go to sportscardinvestor.com and click on membership in the main menu bar. Okay, guys, I've got a special guest on today's show. He is a member of my Sports Card Investor membership program, uses my Market Mover data tool. He is also a professional day trader, and he actually learned day trading when he was 15 years old. He's now 23. He's been doing it for the last 8 years, and this is what he does full-time, professionally. He's doing day trading all day long. He's learned a ton from it. His name is Jay Pelle, and Jay is going to come on the show. He's got, by the way, a very popular Instagram account called Blame Forex. Is the name of the Instagram account, at Blame, B-L-A-M-E, Forex, F-O-R-E-X. One of the most popular day trading Instagram accounts out there, and he gives day trading tips and kind of shows behind the scenes what he's doing, and he has his own day trading course that you can take. Interesting stuff. But today we're going to talk about how that applies to sports cards, because he has gone from the world of day trading to within recently getting into the world of sports cards. What are some of the lessons he's brought over? And how do those lessons make him and make you a better sports card investor? It's going to be a great conversation. So without further ado, let me bring in Jay. Hey, Jay, welcome to Sports Card Investor.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's nice to meet you.
I'm excited for our conversation today. I'm excited to have you on the show because I think it's going to be really interesting to see the sports card market and sports card investing opportunities through the eyes of a day trader. And I'm sure there's some interesting similarities and differences and lessons that you've learned along the way in day trading that can be applied over to the sports card market. But we're going to get into all of that in a minute. I'd love to first hear a little bit more about your background. From what I heard earlier, from what we were talking about, it's pretty fascinating how you got started in this at such a young age.
Yeah, well, my name is Jason Pellegrini. I'm 23 years old, from Hoboken, which is a small city in Jersey. But yeah, pretty much at a young age, I was, playing sports, doing everything else. And I fell in love with like flipping things. I started an eBay account when I was like, I don't even remember what the age was. I was too young to be on eBay, that's for sure, because I got banned because I was under 18. I don't know how they found out. But I was just flipping stuff I had around my house. Like the first thing I think I sold was my sister's American Girl doll. That was like $100. And since that moment, I just fell in love with flipping things, anything.
Did your sister know that you sold her American Girl doll?
She knew after the fact when it was gone. But yeah.
Oh boy.
Did your sister see the proceeds from the American Girl doll?
Some of the proceeds, don't worry.
Okay.
But you took a cut. I like that. You were a businessman at this early teenage age. You took a cut off that.
She was a little too young to be having any money, really, anyways. But she saw a little cut, so it was all good. But yeah, fell in love with flipping things. And then fast forward to high school is when I started getting into day trading, and kind of happened by accident. I was searching online I knew at a young age, I didn't want to be like the 9 to 5 guy. I wanted to do something else. So I was always, just trying to make money however I could. Stumbled upon day trading because I saw a picture on Instagram of somebody in the pool. He had his laptop and he was like, as long as I have Wi-Fi, I can make money trading the stock market. So I dove in. I didn't have the $4,000 he wanted for the course, but I dove in, did my research, and I figured I needed to find somebody that, already had some success with it and somebody that would be able to kind of just give me some information how I could do it myself. And I didn't really have much money then. So
let me ask before we continue with the story, that guy, that luxurious scene in the pool, and anyone could day trade, and is it actually easy, or is it like everything else in life? It's actually difficult. You got to learn lessons. You got to, you find out the hard way about things, right?
Not easy. You definitely got to learn the hard way, and it comes with literally learning the hard way, just diving into the markets, getting humbled. There's been many times where I've lost lots of money and money that I couldn't afford to lose. So I had to just step back and really just dive in and get all the knowledge I could in the education before I actually, started putting my real money to work and actually started making money.
Yeah, well, and sports card investing is the same way. I mean, obviously, it can look glamorous from the outside, and of course, certainly on this show, I talk about all the cards that are going up, and a lot of cards have been going up. The market's been hot as heck, but it's full of traps and full of hazards, and you have to learn your lessons, and you're gonna make some mistakes along the way. I did, others have, and that's just kind of the way it works. I say when it comes to whether it's investing of any type, sports cards or stocks, or starting a business, which I've done a bunch of times. One thing I always say is that failure is tuition, right? Because I never got an MBA. In fact, I never even went to business school. But I've started. This is, I think, my 12th or 13th business I've started. I definitely lost money along the way in some of those businesses, a lot of money in some of those businesses, especially some of the ones that I started off earlier. And, the way that I look at it was, well, I could have gotten an MBA and paid $150,000 or whatever for an MBA. Or I could actually get my hands dirty and start some entrepreneurial ventures on my own. And yeah, some of them didn't go so well and I lost some money. But I tell you what, that money that I lost in those ventures, I learned a heck of a lot more than I would have learned paying that same amount of money to some university somewhere to teach me management theory or marketing theory in some class with 800 other students, right?
That's the cost of doing business. Even with day trading, when you lose money, just got to look at it. That's the cost of doing business. And you can't just dwell on it. You learn from it and it makes you grow. And that's how you get better at business, trading, life in general. I didn't graduate either, by the way.
Well, I did graduate, but it was not from business school, but hey, but that's great. I mean, that's the thing, right? People can make their own way in the world today. Going that path of going to college and having to get the 4-year degree and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you're sitting here, you're proof that that's not the only path. And there's other paths that people can take. And if you go after, your calling and what appeals to you, you can do great. You can do great no matter what your background in education is, if you're passionate about something. Interesting. And another thing that we were just talking about, I bet I'm going to take a guess that your attitude about money is similar to my attitude about money when it comes to business. And that is that you have to look at money as if it's a tool. The same way that you have to look at any other tool that is part of your business or part of your craft or part of what you are doing. Money is simply a tool that you can leverage to achieve a result, right? And so I imagine that's the mentality. You have to almost divorce yourself of the emotion that goes with money. And this is the hardest thing. And I know I'm on my soapbox here for a minute. We're going to get back to your story in a second, I promise, because I want to hear all about your story. But this is one of the hardest thing for new entrepreneurs to people who are not natural entrepreneurs, and new entrepreneurs have extreme trouble with the concept that numbers and money, what in a business is, it's simply things printed on a piece of paper. And you can't get emotional about it. And there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, but it's just a leverage point. It's just things printed on a piece of paper. It's really hard for people because, of course, in people's personal lives, money is, something, it's such an emotional topic. There's so much, anxiety associated with money and guilt associated with money. And just people are very obviously, anxious about money, right? But if you want to be an entrepreneur, you almost have to divorce yourself from that. You almost have to have this this is a tool I'm leveraging, and you can't have those ups or downs, break you. And I imagine day trading is probably the exact same way.
Exactly the same. You get too attached to the money, you're going to cut your trades off too soon. You're not going to let them run, to the further targets, or you're going to get too emotional. Once you lose money, you're going to want to win it back really quickly, and you're just going to dig yourself into a deeper hole. So yeah, emotions and trading don't go well. So you literally have to detach, which is hard for most human beings, to just detach from their emotions and just put their money to work. Like you said, I was pretty blessed early on when I was 15 getting into day trading. The very first thing my mentor told me was, money is a tool. Like you said, money is a tool to make more money. And that's it. As soon as you get, once you become too attached to your money, you're not going to do very well in the trading business, because you're literally just trading money for more money. So once you get attached to it and you start making emotional decisions, let's say you lose money, you want to win it back. That's, you're revenge trading. You're trying to make money back that you lost just because, you had a bad day and you don't want to end the day red. But most of the time you just dig yourself into a deeper hole. And even when you have a trade in the money, people will take that off right away because they rarely see green, and they'll just take it off right away and they won't let it run. So emotions and trading, that's like a major, major thing for most new traders. It was very tough for me in the beginning because I'm cheap. I like holding on to my money. So letting, having a bad day didn't suit well with me. And I had to learn the hard way. When you have losses, you kind of just got to get up and walk away, and not get, too emotional about it. It's just the cost of doing business, losing money.
Yeah, and in sports card investing, one area where I see people get really emotional is when it comes to, when do I sell a card that has gone up in value? Because it's, if people will buy, let's say, I'll give you a good example of this because I experienced this. I had a bunch of Luka Doncic silver Prism cards. I've talked about them on the show before. I bought them at the National last year. I bought 10 of them, a lot of 10 of them. And for I think they were like $525, $520. And then, so, I was watching throughout the course of the season, those cards going up and up and up. And at one point they got up to about $2,000. And I was like, I started to put them online to sell. I think I sold one. And then all of a sudden it dropped all the way back down to like, $1,300, $1,400, $1,200. And now, of course, I'm kicking myself. Oh, why didn't I sell them? Why didn't I sell, kicking, right? And then conversely, as later in the year, those cards started to go on a rise, started to go on a run again, just here in the last, during April, during the last, 60 days, those cards started to go on a run again. And I actually sold them this time. I sold them all for, I think, around $1,750. Well, those cards are all over $2,000 again now, And so it's like, could I beat myself up for not, selling them at the peak, and instead the first time not selling enough at the peak, and then the second time selling them before the peak? Yes, I could beat myself up about that, but you can never perfectly time the market. You never know the answer to it. And at the end of the day, what you have to look at is, hey, I did well. I started off with $500 and something. I sold that for $1,700 and something. That's amazing. And by the way, who cares what the card does after it leaves your hand? You have to divorce yourself of the emotion of what that card does after it leaves your hand. The saddest sports card investors in the world are the ones who have this story about how they sold the Brady rookie card, 10 years ago or 15 years ago for like $112, or how they sold the, now it's the Topps Project 2020 Trout card. They sold it for $90, a few weeks after it came out. out. They thought they did great because it went up 4x. Well, now guess what? It's now up 100x, right? But those are you can't worry about that. Like, you got to divorce yourself. Yeah, that's a sad story. Go put the money into the next thing and keep going.
Like me, man, because as soon as you get out of a trade, you'll see it run up, however many points more in your favor. And you just sit there and watch, like, oh, I could have been making more, the next 5 minutes since I got out of the trade. But you really just got to look at it like you said. I did well. I made the trade. I took profits where I wanted to take profits. And whatever happens, happens. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Right. So that's kind of the attitude you got to have with trading as well. It works with sports cards too. And that's
sure
kind of how I did the same thing with the Luka Doncic. I bought those at $250, the PSA 10s, regular base prisms, in like February. A month later, not even a month later, they were 500, 600. And I was like, all right, time to ship some of these out. So I had at least like 25 of them at one point. And now I only have 5. I sold most of them when they doubled. And I knew I wanted to sell them at 500. Yeah, they could go to 1,000 and I'll, not make the money when it goes to 1,000, but I still got 5 of them that I'll sell. I don't even know, when he retires, maybe.
Yeah. And then the ones that you got your money back out of, you can now invest in something new. And that's something people don't consider as well. You can tell that story about, oh, I sold this card, 5 years ago that's worth, 50 times what I sold it for today. Okay, but what did you do with that money in the last 5 years? Did you buy other cards? Did those cards go up? Did you then sell those cards and buy other cards and those cards went up? And then you sold those cards and bought other cards and those cards went up? Because, correct. And so actually sometimes, people, they tell those stories, but then when they go back and actually realize what they actually did with the money, now this is, of course, assuming their other investments worked out and they made smart decisions. But sometimes those stories don't turn out to be so bad, because the idea of having a bunch of money locked up in one particular card for a long period of time may not be ideal. If your capital is limited, and it means that you're missing out on other opportunities for other cards that you could continue to ride the wave up on.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I put those into a LeBron 03 rookie, the Chromes. Those paid off nice, but then they came down a little bit. So those are holding for long term.
Yeah, those are good ones. I've got a few of those. Those are good long-term holds.
You can't go wrong with LeBron.
No, you cannot. And what I like to do is I like to play a little bit more of the day trading type of angle. It's on more of the modern, more of the rookies, second-year player, third-year player type guys. And then as I'm able to make profit off of those, I like to go off and stick that profit in a guy like LeBron. Take the profits and use the profits to buy the all-time great Hall of Famers, the guys whose cards are going to maintain and hold value and continue to go up. And then do your, do that kind of flipping activity with the more modern rookies and that type of thing, where if a guy gets hot and has a 40-point game, all of a sudden his cards are going to double overnight, and okay, now I can get out of them and get that money and go buy more LeBron.
Those are like the day trades, the modern athletes who are in there now, the younger guys, Luka, Zion. Yeah, they have a 40-point game. You'll see the cards go spike crazy overnight.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to talk more about that day trading side. So let's get back to your story. So you're 15 years old. You have you've kind of discovered day trading. You're starting to get into it. You've watched, you couldn't afford this guy's course, you were saying, but you started doing research on the internet to kind of figure out how to do day trading on your own.
Yeah. So as I was in that process, starting, to figure out what I want to trade, how I'm going to trade, what strategy to use. That's when there was this one random night where my family were out to dinner at a local steakhouse where all the locals go. And there's some money in Hoboken. So there's always people, real estate investors, Wall Street guys, just hanging around in the restaurants. So my family's pretty close to all of them. But there was one guy who really stuck out to me, and he was one of the Wall Street guys, floor trader. And just the way they go about living life is just like that's what I wanted. I knew it at a young age, and I was like, I want to be that guy paying for the bills, and he doesn't even know who he's sitting with. But yeah, I pretty much begged him to teach me, and he saw that I was serious, because every time I saw the guy, I was like, yo, what do I need to know? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I kind of just picked his brain, and I still talk to him to this day. But yeah, he was able to show me, you know, this is what you shouldn't do. This is what you really got to do. And it just sped up the whole learning curve for me. Just finding somebody who was literally a floor trader at the New York Stock Exchange commodities department. So he was showing me all kinds of things, like, this is what to look for. This is what you shouldn't do. This is, you know, money is a tool to make more money, so don't get too attached to it. But yeah, ever since then, I didn't really have a lot of capital to start out with. So I had to wait. I was just learning. And there's a thing called paper trading. So you could trade on a fake account, pretty much. Just they fund you. You look at, you know, real live data. You're trading the same things the real guys are trading. It's just you're practicing on a paper trading account. So you're not risking any capital, but you're testing out your strategies and everything. And you see if what you're learning is actually working before you go ahead and save up money and, you know, make a real live account. But yeah, that's something that really helped me from the start, just having somebody to literally just that I could pick their brain. Is this working? Am I doing this right? You know? But yeah, that helped me a lot. And once I got into college, that's when I actually put some live real capital into the markets. And yeah, ever since then, it's pretty much history. I started out with the foreign exchange market. And yeah, Forex, you kind of start with that. That's what I started with, rather, because there's a lower entry, less capital that you need to use to, you know, get started and actively day trade. With stock market, you need 25K minimum to place more than three day trades a week. So yeah, started out with that. Now I'm kind of diving in more into options, futures, and equities. And yeah, it's been a crazy, wild ride. A lot of ups and downs. But yeah, we're sticking through it with these crazy markets right now.
That's great. And an important lesson out there, you mentioned that mentor and how he helped you accelerate things. I mean, that is true in any business, and in sports card investing, it's good to have a mentor, you know, and we, at Sports Card Investor, we have, you know, Facebook groups, we have Discord chat service, and we're actually even in the process now of rolling out with an actual formal mentorship program for our members, where some of our more experienced members are going to be mentoring some of our less experienced members who are newer getting into it, because we're trying to create those types of connections to, you know, because as you said, it helps accelerate. And just as day trading is, I'm sure, very, you know, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot of complexity to it. The sports card hobby is the same. I mean, there's a lot to learn and there's a lot of complexity to investing in sports cards. So obviously anyone who can help accelerate you through that process, latch onto them, become their friends and learn from them, because that's going to help you quite a bit.
Yeah, it just speeds everything up. You could go, you know, spend a whole lot more time trying to do it yourself, or you could find somebody, maybe you got to pay them a little money, but it's worth they've been doing it their whole life. So you might as well just give them some money up front, or you're going to waste a lot of your own time. I'm not saying it won't work doing it yourself, but like, the money's going to be worth it because you're paying for, you know, somebody's experience, somebody's life experiences pretty much. So it works out,
sure.
Speeds up the whole process, no matter what business you're in, not just day trading, not just sports cards, anything.
For sure. So I want to talk about, you know, things you've learned through day trading and how they apply over to sports cards. I guess, first of all, though, you're a member, obviously, of the membership program. You use the Market Movers data tool. So at what point did you get into sports cards?
Sports cards, as a young boy, I was buying sports cards. I wasn't really flipping them. I just wanted the Derek Jeter cards. That was my favorite player. So I actually recently got back into it like January, February. I follow Gary Vee and he's been talking a whole lot about him. So I saw the opportunity was there, you know, a lot of people betting on sports, maybe pumping money into the card market. But yeah, I got back into cards like January, February, which is right before everything kind of collapsed on us.
That's true.
So the timing wasn't too ideal, although I did make money on those, a bunch of cards really that I picked up in February. But yeah, I still held out on most of them. I still have all of them pretty much. Only thing I sold was those Lucas, like 20 of them. But that was just too good to pass up on. Double your investment in less than a month. I mean,
For sure.
So many, many years as a day trader, newer in the sports card arena, obviously. What are some of the similarities you've seen so far between kind of the mentality that you bring to day trading or things you've seen in day trading and how that might apply over to the sports card market?
Like knowing when you want to sell your card, not getting too attached to one specific card. That is something I took over from the day trading world, because you don't want to stick into if you're day trading, at least you don't want to stick into your trade forever. You got to pay yourself, right? You're doing this to make money, and you know, anything could happen. Your good trade can come to shit, for lack of better words, very quickly. So you got to know when you want to be taking your profits, even with the sports cards. We saw this coronavirus hit and sports cards went down a little bit. And yeah, you just really got to do that. And also not getting over leveraged in one specific card. Like with day trading, you don't want to spend your whole account balance on one trade, on one stock or whatever it is. Same thing with, like you said before, you don't want to go heavy in one card, because then you won't have money for other cards that might be moving, better opportunities. So kind of that stuff, more risk management stuff comes into play. And also not getting too worried with the price fluctuations, just knowing to, you know, hold out if things are going slow rather.
Sure.
Yeah. So your first bit of advice there was, I mean, it really, again, comes back down to emotion and being able to remove the emotion from the situation. I mean, yeah, you're saying don't get attached, you know, don't get overly attached to a card, right? And that's true. And that's, by the way, a difference between collecting and investing, right? And you can absolutely do both, because I have my personal collection of cards that I am attached to, cards that I really like and that I, you know, plan to hold on to. And I'm not worried about what those cards are necessarily doing on a day-to-day basis from a financial perspective. Then I got my cards that I bought simply because I feel like those cards are going to go up in value. And those are the cards I very much need to be monitoring, you know, from a value perspective, so that I can, you know, try to time the market in terms of when to get out of them and, you know, take the profit and put it into something else.
100%. But yeah, there's also cards I have that I know I don't really care what the price are. I just really like them for collecting wise. But then most of them are, all right, I'm here to make money, so I don't really care what this card does. I just need to, you know, needs to be at this price point and I need to get out.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you talked about diversification, which I think is also very important. So I'm curious, from a day trading perspective, let's say you have a pool of money that you're doing this day trading with. Let's say you have $50,000 that is your total, you know, capital. How diversified are you typically with that? Like, is that going into how many different types of, you know, investments?
Do like a couple things per day. I'm not getting into more than like 3 different assets a day. I mostly trade the S&P futures. So I'll be looking at that, and then a couple stocks, whatever pops up on my radar in the morning. And I'll put a set risk amount, dollar amount, or percentage amount, how much I want to risk on each trade. And it's never going to be the whole account balance. It's never going to be that. So yeah, it's just picking your assets, whatever you want to trade for that day. For me, it's really, I'll mostly trade only one thing per day, just the S&P futures. And yeah, just knowing your risk at the end of the day. What's your risk limit for the day? What's your risk limit for the week? And once you hit that, you got to walk away, because there's nobody sitting next to you saying, hey, you can't trade anymore. No, you got to be, for people like me, day trading at home alone, or in the office, wherever, you got to be the trade manager. Because if you don't stick to those loss limits, you're just going to, who's to say you have to, right? You're just going to keep, risking more money. So you really got to be disciplined and stick to that. And you don't have to trade everything every day. You just trade, what's active for that session, or what pops up on your radar in the morning. But really, I'm only trading 1 to 3 different things at a time per day.
Yeah. And so again, as you basically, what you're saying there is, once again, take the emotion out of it and, be regimented about what you're doing. Be very thoughtful, be very, be strict with yourself. And, this is, by the way, this is good advice. I mean, in every walk of life, but I can't help but think sports gambling, this is huge advice if you're doing sports gambling, right? Because I know many large sports bettors, and they always say, you're going to have a bad day. You're going to have a bad week. You can't chase. You have to have your limits for the week so you can survive a bad week and still have bankroll left. And you've got to know when to stop and what your limits are. And you can't ever go up against them, because the second you start making those emotional types of decisions, the whole thing, it becomes less, it's no longer a strategic play to try to make money. It's now nothing but a pull of a slot machine, and you can't let it veer over in that direction. And I imagine that's, there's some similarities, some lessons there with sports cards, but, maybe a little less with sports cards because it's not as real time intensive. It's your losses and your wins don't come at you as quickly. There's not as much panic. But certainly with sports gambling, certainly with day trading, poker, by the way, if you play poker, I mean, same deal. You take a bad beat, you hit, whatever. Now you want to pull out the wallet and chase for more, and don't do it. Be disciplined. Be disciplined.
Exactly. That's all it comes down to, being disciplined.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Okay.
So I know we just kind of got into some kind of lessons already there, that we were talking similarities. We kind of got into some lessons. What are some other things that you learned from day trading that you feel was an important lesson, and then, might apply over to sports card investing?
I guess like the supply and demand aspect, like the things that have, if there's not a lot of supply in something, then prices are going to go up. If there's a rare card, let's say, and nobody's really selling it, prices are going to go up. You're going to see a little price spike. That's the same thing with trading. When there's no sellers in a market, you'll just see prices keep going up and up and up. But yeah, supply and demand is kind of like the main thing. Those rare cards, those that have a less print run, I think they call it in sports cards, those tend to have a higher value. So everybody goes after those cards. I like going after those cards as well. Actually bought a LeBron Bazooka, which has a very low print run, low circulation, right? Or yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, and sports cards are interesting because I do very much agree with you. Print runs matter, scarcity matters 100%. And I'm concerned, especially now with, the fact that there's so many more cards being printed in 2020 than there were in 2019, and so many more in 2019 than there were in 2018, and so many more in 2018 than 2017. So finding cards that are truly scarce, that are numbered, that are rare parallels, that type of thing, I think is safer than base cards, which we're talking tens of thousands perhaps being printed now. However, there's a flip side of it. And the flip side of it is that it still has to be a card that's desirable to people, because there are cards out there. There are sets that are kind of on the fringe, that are, if you have a 1 of 1 or a card number to 10 in a set that isn't a set that people really respect or are chasing or whatever, that's not going to matter. I mean, it's going to be worth something, but a 1 of 1 in a set that no one's really chasing is probably worth nowhere close to a 1 out of 299 in Prism, right? Or something of that nature, So you got to be kind of aware of the product. And so you got to find that sweet spot where you're looking for respected sets, and you're looking for, sets that people chase and they go after. They've got the name, yet at the same time, a lower population card. On this show last October, I did an episode where it was called The Death of Prism Silver. And I was talking about how many Prism Silver cards are getting printed and how that print run has gone up and up and up. And they've obviously have a tremendous amount of value in the sports card hobby, but I was pointing out that there are other variations of Prism cards that have much lower print runs, and that I felt were given the choice between the two, probably a better investment for that reason. One card in particular that I pointed out in that episode was I talked about the blue cards numbered to 199. And the crazy thing was, at that time that I did that episode, the blue cards numbered to 199. And if you look at someone like Luca's 2018 Prism rookie card, his blue cards numbered to 199 were not much more than his silver cards. They were right near each other. The blue cards were slightly more, but they were still in the ballpark of the silver cards. And I said, this is insanity. There are thousands of Luca silver cards out there, thousands. And there's 199 blue cards. And why, like this, it didn't make any sense to me. Sure enough, post that episode, in the following months, the blue cards took off in value. Now, the silver cards have continued to go up as well, and they've been a good investment as well, but the blue cards have really accelerated in value. But it's not true for every color variation. Even within Prism, green, which is, it's obviously in the retail product, green is actually more rare than silver, but it's significantly more rare than silver. Yet the green cards never have nearly as much value as the silver cards do, So and there's a perception there, well, green's in the retail product and not in the hobby product, and so it's not as valuable, even though it's much more rare. So it's nuanced. So generally I agree, scarcity 100%, supply, if supply is low and demand is high, but the other part of the equation is demand has to be high, right? Supply being low is good, but demand's got to be high.
100%. Yeah, that's why I only trade, bigger stocks like Netflix or Amazon, stuff like that, because there's always going to be demand for those stocks. I'm not trading like penny stocks where, they're just going to go to nothing if nobody's buying them. But also something that you said, like the more desirable sets. I had a 1 of 1 Zion, which didn't really do anything for me because it was one of those Cyber Monday packs. But it was a 1 of 1 Zion with his jersey on it, but it's not worth, more than $200. I thought I was getting a steal at $100, thinking it would go to, thousands. But really, it's not really worth much. I put it on eBay and they didn't really catch any bids. So
the supply was in your favor in the fact that it was a 1 of 1, but the demand wasn't, right? And that was the side of the equation that was missing.
Yeah, and that hit me right in the face.
Yeah, it's interesting how, basic economic theory applies to all aspects. It applies to business, it applies to day trading, it applies to sports cards, and that's often what I will tell people when you're thinking about sports cards. Think of economic theory, think of supply and demand, think of how the market might move and why things move in the market, and then what that could mean in the future for how the market might move. Now, overall, I will tell you, as I've said on this channel before, the overall demand for sports cards is going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And so now supply is going up a lot too, but I'm still bullish on the fact that demand is going to exceed supply when it comes to sports cards in general for at least the next few years. After that, I don't know. But I think for the next few years, assuming, Panini and Topps don't get too hot with their printing presses, which I have some confidence that they won't, that they're going to do the right thing there. But I'm sure it's tempting for them to, hit go on their printer a few more times and make hundreds of thousands of extra dollars or millions of extra dollars. But assuming that demand can continue to exceed supply, we're going to, basic economic theory, we're going to continue to see prices go up and up in the sports card market, as long as that's happening.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Those the PSA 10s though, they tend to be less supply of those. That's why everything I buy now is either PSA 10 or like BGS 9.5, something like that.
Well, it's another form of scarcity. So, I mean, obviously you can have scarcity in the fact that a particular card is rare, that not many of them were printed, or you could have scarcity in terms of the grading, right? And so a card that, by saying this is a PSA 10, it automatically is building scarcity in, because of all the cards printed, only a segment are good enough to be PSA 10. Now, how big that segment is varies widely on the card. There's some cards that 60 or 70% or more are getting PSA 10s because those cards happen to be produced very well. And then there's some cards where, it's almost impossible to get a PSA 10. And so PSA 10s are tremendously extra scarce for that reason. But yeah, as an investor, whenever you can, I would absolutely recommend graded, and I would absolutely recommend Gem Mint whenever you can possibly do that. It's not always possible, but it's, especially with new releases that have just come out or that type of thing. But if it's available, I would always go for it.
Yeah, I didn't know that really till I got into the sports card investor group. The graded, the difference is really, because you could buy the ungraded, but not all of them get PSA 10, like you said. So once I got into the group, I saw everyone buying, the PSA 10s, this and that. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to go straight for the PSA 10s. No need to buy the ungraded, the raws. Just go straight for the PSA 10, because those are typically the most desirable in whatever card.
They are. And there are some, I mean, one of the things I love about sports card investing is there's so many different strategies, and there are people out there who love to buy raw and find the raw cards that are going to go grade at a 10. And if you're really good at that, if you really spend your time looking for really great quality raw cards, you can make a lot of money. You can make extra money and extra profit by buying those raw cards, submitting them for grading, getting it back as the 10s. But it's a lot more work, and it ties up your money for a long period of time, because you got to wait for the grading, you got to ship them off, So, there's advantages and disadvantages, but some people love that route. Personally, much like what you were just describing, I personally just opt for the graded whenever I can get the graded, because that way I have the peace of mind
that I know.
Yeah, you already know what the grade is.
Right. I like knowing that quality.
Work out of it. So I like that route. I also have some stuff that I bought in bulk, like the Mbappe's.
Mm-hmm.
Those World Cup, I think 2015s or something. I got to send those in.
Yeah, you should send those in. 2014 World Cup. Oh no, I guess Mbappe wasn't 2014 World Cup. Mbappe was more recent than that. But yeah, the 2014 World Cup product in general has gone crazy. 2018 World Cup's gone crazy. And yeah, Mbappe's gone crazy, and I mean all those cards have been wild in terms of what they've done. So what about, do you feel there's a correlation between the stock market and the sports card market in general? I mean, it's been kind of an interesting pattern we've seen the last few months, where both markets obviously suffered a drop, right? During March. Both markets kind of rallied back in April. It doesn't seem to be a one-to-one correlation, but there do seem to be some similarities in kind of the movement of the stock market and the sports card market.
Well, I think the correlation is like the investors that are in the market. When we saw the stock market crash, that's when people kind of panicked and they actually start selling even more themselves. Same thing with the card market. I think when people saw the lockdowns, no sports on, they kind of panicked and sold all their cards, and that caused a little bit of a drop. And now we're seeing the stock market recover pretty crazily, and it's pretty much revived. I would say we're up 900 points in the last, I don't know how many weeks. The low is like March 23rd or something. We're pretty much back at all-time highs. We're about 200 points away from that. And it's only been like how many weeks? 8 weeks, 7 weeks? But yeah, I'd say like the correlation would be the people investing in those markets. We saw the panic on the stock market. A lot of the people who are too emotional got out of their stocks or whatever and sold them. The people who were too emotional and saw, the NBA shutting down and everything, they sold their cards, and we saw a little bit of a drop there. But I don't know as far as like a direct correlation, like if the stock market goes up, these cards will go up. I don't know if that's the case. It's more of like human behavior.
Yeah, well, I think it's human behavior. It's the economy in general. I mean, obviously,
in general, people needed money, so they were, selling stuff.
And the stock market, somewhat correlates with, people's, feelings about the economy and the state of the world. It's not a perfect correlation, but there is definitely some correlation there. And, that you see the same thing, obviously, with the sports card market, where how people are feeling about things and, and we saw that in March, and then we saw the opposite in April when people started feeling a little more optimistic, or maybe they were just bored at home wanting to buy sports cards, which that was a big part of it as well.
But similar to the card market, where we're getting a whole lot of more people coming in and investors, there was, I think, I don't even know the exact number, but there is more than ever people coming into the stock market right now. So there's another little correlation. People are ready to, they want to make money again.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. The most retail accounts open, and like, I don't know what the statistic was, but there's a whole lot of retail accounts being opened in the stock market.
Interesting. Well,
there you go. There's going to be demand. I'm sure there's a correlation there that when, accounts for people to buy stock get opened, when brokerage accounts get opened, then you can expect a period of higher demand, right? Because people are going to be, in there moving money in from what might have been previously in CDs or savings accounts, and they're going to be moving into the stock market and they're going to be buying things. Well, now all of a sudden you got increased demand. And when you have increased demand on a market, prices go up, right? Yeah, interesting. So tell me, what sports cards are you going after? Like, so what are you thinking about these days?
What I'm thinking about, I don't know. What do you think about the Project 2020? I actually been buying some of those, but that's not what I'm after. I am after one of those Derek Jeter ones.
I have many opinions. What's funny is, we're filming that, just so everyone knows, we're filming this Wednesday night, and it's actually airing on Sunday. But my episode on Thursday, so it will have been out for a few days now by the time everyone watches this, is all about Topps Project 2020, because I have some strong opinions that are going to surprise some people, because I actually think your investment window in Project 2020 has passed. And at this point, from an investment standpoint, I would not be buying it. From a collector standpoint, they're beautiful cards. They're nice cards to own. But I think the money to be made as an investor, I think that's kind of getting behind us at this point. And those are not the cards I would sink my money into right now.
Yeah, now it's kind of like chasing the Project 2020.
Yeah, which I think is a bad idea for a lot of reasons. But you can, if people are out there watching, they can go back and watch my video from Thursday if you want to hear all of the reasons why I think that's a bad idea.
But yeah, I'm going after like LeBron cards. I was trying to get a bazooka, the mini. So there's the regular size bazooka, and then the mini has less of a print or supply right now. So I actually got that from a person in the group. I posted up I needed a mini LeBron bazooka. I think it was the rookie. And yeah, got that from the group. Somebody in the group, and then I'm after like the Juan Soto's and the those rookie cards, pretty much. Just gonna buy more of those. And then obviously I bought some. I'm actually after some Ronaldo cards, soccer cards, Ronaldo rookies, something. I haven't had any, but I have some Messi's, and those did pretty well for me. But yeah. I'd say maybe some more baseball and soccer. I got a lot of basketball right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can't go wrong with any of those names. Those are all good quality players, good sought after cards people are certainly wanting and chasing. And so I think I think all of those are probably pretty safe and
like the stocks. I'll stick to the big guys.
Makes sense for sure. Cool. Awesome. Well, hey, if you could give one, let's say someone out there was interested in exploring day trading, if you could give one word of advice to them, what would you give them?
Don't expect to get rich overnight. That's the first thing I would say. It's a game where you gotta actually get into the market and learn most of it for yourself. How things work, the experience, how it's going for you, and how things fluctuate. And I'd say, yeah, just play the long game. You're not going to make money, for a little bit in the beginning. Just kind of use your first couple months or however long it takes you to grasp it. It took me a couple of years. But yeah, I'd say don't look to get rich overnight, and don't put in money that you can't afford to lose. That would be the next biggest thing I would say. But yeah, that's pretty much day trading in the beginning. Don't put in what you can't lose, and don't expect to make a lot until you have the right foundation of how the markets actually work.
It's good advice for sure. And if people want to learn more from you, I know you've got a active Instagram account. I know you've actually got a course on it. Why don't you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, so I got a couple courses. I actually have a free beginner course. I actually let it go for free when this quarantine stuff started. People were at home, some people out of jobs, and it was just a way to give back pretty much. I put together a whole basic beginner course about the financial markets and mostly about the foreign exchange markets, but also have a group chat. And I day trade live every morning, so people can just follow on and commentate, what's going on in the markets. You could see how I go about day trading it. And similar to you, I have a little Discord group chat where pretty much you ask me anything you want throughout the day. And we kind of just bounce off of each other and try and help one another. And yeah, you could find that on my Instagram page is @BlameForex. And I got all the links in my bio pretty much if you want to check those out.
Cool. Blame Forex. So Instagram is Blame, BLAME, Forex, FOREX.
Yeah. Or you could just go to, I actually have a business partner now. We built like the online courses and stuff. MajorLeagueTrading.com, if that makes it easier for you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like Major League Baseball, we got Major League Trading.
I like it. It's a good name. Good stuff. Jay, this has been insightful. It's been great to hear your story and to get your thoughts from day trading and how they apply to sports card investing. I appreciate you joining the show.
For sure. I'm grateful that you've been doing the same, helping other people in the sports card world, and thankful that you had me on the show.
All right. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Jay. Check him out on Instagram @BlameForex. Give him a follow if you're at all interested in day trading. Thought there was some interesting conversation and takeaways there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also, if you haven't signed up yet, you still have until Wednesday to join the membership program and be part of our next box break of 2020 Bowman. Would love to have you as part of the membership program. Go to sportscardinvestor.com and click on membership in the main menu bar. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please give my channel a subscribe on YouTube or my podcast a subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell icon on YouTube to be notified of new episodes. Every subscriber matters to us. I thank each and every one of you for subscribing. Hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your weekend. See you back in a couple of days with our next episode. Take care.